You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. What if there's no money? Money is very important to Harry's wife. As a somatic narcissist, it is a residual benefit. And it is important because it allows her to control other people. It allows her to draw fuel from other people. It allows her access to character traits, and it enables her to manage a particular facade. Somatic narcissists are focused on appearance, material matters, sex, amongst other things. You can learn more about that by looking at my other videos about somatic narcissists and accessing in the Knowledge Vault, H.G. Maull's The Somatic Narcissist Parts 1 and 2. Not only will you be informed, you'll also be hugely entertained. For Harry's wife, money translates into the provision of security because, after all, she's such an important person, she needs to be protected at all times from the poor people breathing on her. It translates into her spending ridiculous sums of money on clothing that doesn't fit her. Witness Fridge by Valentino, One of Our Jows is Missing, Kermit Goes to Church, and many others. It's utilised for the assertion of control through PR puff pieces. It pays for her expensive accommodation, be it the Monty Shitshow mansion with 47,000 flushing toilets, or when she goes to other places. And finally, there's the general lifestyle costs associated with being her. She came from a comparatively poor background. Her father did rather well in terms of the money that he earned and put her into a private school, of course. But her narcissism has always caused her to believe that she was entitled to more, that she should have the money, that she should trade up. And of course, having now married a prince and having access to multi-millions, this has fixed within her mind that this is very much where she belongs, that she should always have a security detail, that she should travel by private jet, that she should be driven around in blacked-out SUVs, that she should be able to afford expensive clothing, no matter how badly it fits her, that she should be able to pump out PR puff pieces as and when she dictates, that she lives in expensive accommodation and has that general lifestyle of the rich and famous. However, this all costs, and were she to lose those aspects, they would amount to huge threats to her sense of control, leading her narcissism to fight against it. Some narcissists aren't particularly bothered about money. Others would like it but don't have it, and, despite bellyaching about the absence of it, get along in other means. But for Harry's wife, having now obtained a position of wealth, she wants to stay there. And her narcissism will direct her to do so, because it's all about enabling her to get those prime aims. The problem is, as things have panned out, her level of spending is too great, and she hasn't got the means to sustain that. Therefore, what is she going to do? Because at some point, the money is going to run out. The situation, of course, has been exacerbated by recent failures, with Spotify cutting links with her and her not getting the full payment, Netflix issuing an ultimatum which suggests that some of that money may be in jeopardy, and there being a paucity of other deals on the table. Well, the first option for her is that she raises the money. And this is why we've seen increased talk about her going her own path, with Harry retreating from being involved in content creation and possibly focusing on his charity endeavours. Indeed, the suggestion that she has no future with him as a consequence of the divergence of interests. The problem with her making the money is a triumvirate of difficulties. One, she's lazy. Two, she's entitled. She just thinks that by existing she should be paid. Witness, I can't believe I'm not being paid for this walkabout. Three, she's got no talent. Now, the third one doesn't necessarily hold her back. As you've seen with many gormless individuals, they believe that they can sing, dance, perform, present, etc., even though they haven't got any talent whatsoever. Therefore, this wouldn't necessarily hold her back. Indeed, it is that astonishing self-belief of many untalented narcissists that drives them with the old fake it till you make it mentality. But where would she go with this? Into film and acting? It's unlikely that anybody would want her, and actually she would see that as a backward step. There's the repeated threats, if you will, for Tig to be resurrected, but so far, nothing. And a lot of that would require quite a lot of work to set it up, to keep it going, and that's not something that she's interested in doing. She wants it to come easily. Another alternative would be, of course, for her to go back to old ways of, in effect, selling herself in some shape or form. However, she doesn't necessarily regard that as something that would be appropriate with her newfound status of being a duchess. Therefore, it's a major problem for her with regard to the money running out as to whether she will actually be able to do something about it. She's lazy, entitled, and talent-free. What about option 2? Harry pays. Well, he's not showing any desire whatsoever to come up with any meaningful ideas or content, and he is a dimwit who's also devoid of talent. He, of course, did have some money, but that's being burned through. There's a possibility, of course, that she will convince him to turn to Pa for a handout, but that's far from guaranteed, and, particularly given the threat to control that would pose with regard to Charles, likely to be met with failure, particularly in the current environment. Harry might be welcomed back into the fold, and the deal being that he gets things paid for if he returns to royal duties, but it's highly unlikely that Charles would offer some kind of bailout for the gruesome twosome. This leads us then to option 3. She has to find a new victim. She will need to find somebody who is willing to make the payments that would keep her in the style that she has become accustomed to, i.e. a multi-millionaire or probably even a billionaire. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that she will sink her fangs into somebody of that nature, but the problem that she's got is she's not particularly good looking. She's getting old, and for a billionaire, there are plenty of other hard bodies out there that could be obtained that are far more attractive, likely to be less problematic than her, and reap greater dividends. Therefore, although she has been, as reported, courting Gordon Getty, although the family seems to have headed that one off at the pass, she has difficulties in terms of finding an alternative victim. You might think that there are plenty of wealthy men out there who'd just be thinking with their other head that would fall to her lashings of spicy poontang, and it's potentially the case that that could happen. But whether she could achieve that, alongside it being at the level that she would want, remains debatable. And therefore, there's the possibility that even option 3, which is the most likely outcome, namely she ditches Harry for somebody else, and she gets them to fund her, and then keeps that going until she meets the next one, and so on and so forth, rinse and repeat, there is a possibility that might not even succeed. Where would that leave her? Well, it would still leave her to jettison Harry because he's outlived his purpose, and trying to extract as much from him as possible in terms of a divorce settlement. It would then also mean that in order to try and maintain a certain standard of living, she'd be hawking herself around. She wouldn't get the top-paying gigs because she doesn't provide any value. And in actual fact, it would be a case of there being an inherent tension that her narcissism would have to resolve, namely the loss of status of doing C-list kind of work, the QVC kind of channel behaviour, as against the fact that it pays. Ultimately, her love of money will overtake any reluctance of doing the shitty gigs. Indeed, it wouldn't even surprise me if she set up some kind of OnlyFans arrangement in order to get the moolah to come in. Accordingly, as the money starts to run out, this amounts to a threat to control. It's a possibility that she looks at, and she will look at this, as a way of trying to increase her own income. But I don't see that as succeeding because of her laziness, her entitlement, and a lack of talent. She could turn to Harry, but Harry's not got anything to offer anymore. And therefore, the likelihood is that he's going to be disengaged with as a consequence of having outserved his purpose. This means she's going to have to look for a new victim. I see that as the most likely thing, but it's not something that's guaranteed with success. And therefore, what you may well see to come to pass in the future is Harry gets ditched, she extracts a divorce settlement, but still has to go on the grift in order to maintain the lifestyle to which she's become accustomed, because nobody else will have her, or at least nobody else will have her who is wealthy enough. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.